Hi there, I'm Dr. Rajita. Today's topic is on extrahepatic biliary apparatus. So first we shall do with the gallbladder, which is also considered as a part of extrabiliary apparatus. And gallbladder, it is pouch-like, having a fundus body and neck of the gallbladder. So fundus is that part of the gallbladder which is beyond the inferior border of the liver, that is called as the fundus, and the rest of it is the body, and body gets constricted to form the neck of the gallbladder. Near the neck of the gallbladder, one important thing which is clinically important called as Hartmann's pouch. Hartmann's pouch is a small pouch which may extend from the neck as a sequela, and and it is mainly important in pathological changes, and it is the site for gallstones, and because it lodges the gallstones in Hartmann's pouch. So that is the important thing. And racketancy, a Schauf sinus, occurs when the mucosa of the gallbladder penetrates deep into the muscularis externa. So the mucosa of the gallbladder, it extends into the outer layer, outer part of the gallbladder contains the muscularis externa. So it protrudes into the muscularis externa, and they are the early indicator of pathological changes which are associated with acute cholecystitis or gangrene. So these things you have to remember with the gallbladder. Blood supply of the gallbladder. The arterial supply of the gallbladder is mainly from the cystic artery. So how the cystic artery is arising? It arises from the abdominal aorta. Abdominal aorta first gives rise to celiac trunk. Celiac trunk, it is an artery of foregut. So it supplies all the visceral derivatives of foregut. So celiac trunk gives rise to common hepatic artery. Common hepatic artery gives rise to hepatic artery proper and gastroduodenal artery. And this hepatic artery proper divides into right and left hepatic arteries. So the left hepatic artery gives rise to, right hepatic artery gives rise to cystic artery. So the right hepatic artery gives rise to cystic artery. So that is about the arterial supply. And venous drainage of the gallbladder is by cystic vein. Cystic vein drains into portal vein. So you can see here the cystic vein which is along the form plexus and which drains into the portal vein. And portal vein, again it enters into the liver and divides to form hepatic sinusoids. And the hepatic sinusoids, all of them converge to form central vein of hepatic lobule, and these central veins will join to form hepatic veins which finally drain into inferior vena cava of liver. So I'll just repeat again. First by cystic veins which are from the plexus which are around the gallbladder, and this cystic veins drains into portal vein. Portal vein forms the hepatic sinusoids. Hepatic sinusoids drains into central veins. Central veins joins to form hepatic veins, and hepatic veins drains into inferior vena cava of liver. So intra and extra hepatic. So that was about the gallbladder. Now we shall discuss about the intra and extra hepatic biliary ducts. So the right and left hepatic ducts together join after leaving the liver to form a common hepatic duct. So this dotted line indicates the inferior border of the liver. So within the porta hepatis, we see the right and left hepatic ducts. They are joining to form a common hepatic duct. And this common hepatic duct is joined at an acute angle with the cystic duct to form a bile duct. So this here is the bile duct. And the cystic duct drains from the gallbladder. The mucosa of the cystic duct is arranged in a spiral fashion. So if you see the mucosa of the cystic duct, it contains a spiral valves because of the mucosal foldings. And this spiral folds with the core of smooth muscle is known as spiral valve or valve of Hister. It is called also called as valve of Hister or spiral valve, which keeps the cystic duct always patent. So the spiral valve keeps the cystic duct constantly open and so that the bile can flow freely in either direction. It can go from the hepatic duct into the gallbladder, and from the gallbladder into the common bile duct. That's how it can move from either direction. So that is the importance of spiral valve or valve of Hester. So the bile duct passes posterior to the pancreas. So we can see the bile duct is formed here, which runs posterior to the pancreas and ends at the hepatopancreatic ampulla. So the pancreatic duct also joins here with the bile duct, common bile duct, to form a hepatopancreatic ampulla. Ampulla means a dilatation which is called as ampulla of Vater. So what you see, the small dilatation is ampulla of Vater or hepatopancreatic ampulla, where it joins with the pancreatic duct and it opens into the second part of duodenum. So that is about the bile duct. So this is the extrahepatic part. What I shown today now is the extrahepatic part, which is below the inferior border of the liver. So which is within the liver is considered as intrahepatic biliary ducts. So now the bile duct, which I was already discussing about the extrahepatic part, where it protrudes into the mucosa of the second part of duodenum and opens here. So because of it, it forms an elevation which is called as major duodenal papilla. So the bile duct passes posterior to the pancreas. So the common bile duct passes posterior to the pancreas and ends at hepatopancreatic ampulla, which is otherwise called ampulla of Vater, where it joins with the pancreatic duct. And the sphincter of Oddi is an area where it is thickened with the smooth muscle, and it surrounds the bile duct as it traverses the ampulla. And the sphincter of Oddi controls the bile flow because it is innervated by the sympathetic and causes the contraction of sphincter. So that is about the sphincter of Oddi. So the relationship of hepatic, pancreatic and gallbladder duct. So the gallbladder is a blind pouch. We know this is a blind pouch joined with a single cystic duct and with a numerous mucosal folds containing within the cystic duct called as spiral valve or valve of Hester. The cystic duct joins with the common hepatic duct together to form a common bile duct, and the common bile duct that leads into the duodenum, and at the entry of the duodenum the common bile duct is joined by the main pancreatic duct to form ampulla of Vater, and together they enter into the second part of duodenum, and which are surrounded by a sphincter. Sphincters of the common bile duct is called as sphincter of Boyden, and sphincter of pancreatic and main pancreatic duct, and the hepatopancreatic ampulla is surrounded by sphincter of Oddi, which controls the flow of bile and pancreatic secretions into the duodenum. And with the common bile duct, the sphincter contracts the bile duct, enter the duodenum, and it back up and flow into the gallbladder. So where it is concentrated and stored, and minor duodenal papilla is the another opening where you can see where accessory pancreatic duct opens. So this is a major pancreatic duct joining with the common pancreas to form a major duodenal papilla. This is the minor duodenal papilla where the accessory pancreatic duct opens here. So that was about the extrahepatic ducts. Intrahepatic ducts, we already knew that the bile duct present inside the liver are considered as intrahepatic ducts. And now calots of triangle, which is clinically quite important, and it is also otherwise called as cystohepatic triangle, and it is a small anatomical space in the abdomen, and it is located at the porta hepatis of the liver. So here is the porta hepatis of liver, and it is located in the porta hepatis of liver, near the porta hepatis, and where the hepatic ducts and the neurovascular structure which enter and exit the liver. So this is the hepatic duct, and this is the hepatic duct, and these are the neurovascular structures entering and exiting the liver. And we can see one artery here supplying the gallbladder called as cystic artery. So because of this cystic artery, this small triangle is formed, and this whole thing is now considered as Callott's triangle. And where the Callott's triangle is orientation is so that its apex is directed at the liver. So apex is at the liver, and the borders are like a medial border formed by the common. This is the medial border formed by the common hepatic duct, and inferior border is formed by the cystic duct. It is formed by the cystic duct, and superior border is formed by the inferior surface of liver. So these are the boundaries, but the above thing, it is different from original description of Callott's triangle. Actually, the Callott's triangle, which was first described, was this purple one alone. That means it is this whole thing is not presently. This whole thing is considered as Callott's triangle, but this purple one alone, previously it was considered as actual original Callott's triangle, where the cystic artery is given as the superior border. So instead of forming the inferior surface of liver, cystic artery will form the superior border of the liver. So this is the original Callott's triangle. So but the modern definition gives more consistent border, because the cystic artery has a considerable variation in its anatomical course and origin. So because of its variation, this triangle is very difficult to define. So for that reason, presently this whole thing is considered as Callott's triangle. So the contents of Callott's triangle, it includes the right hepatic artery. We can see the right hepatic artery formed by the bifurcation of proper hepatic artery and into the right and left branches. So we can see right hepatic artery and right hepatic ducts also, and typically arises from the right cystic artery, also considered as a content. If you take this whole thing as a triangle, then cystic artery is also a content, which is typically arises from the right hepatic artery and traverses the triangle to supply the gallbladder. And it also contains some lymph nodes which are called as lymph node of Lunt, which is the first lymph node of gallbladder. So the lymph node is also located. So that is about the Callott's triangle. So medially it is bounded by the common hepatic duct, inferiorly by the cystic duct, and superiorly by the inferior surface of liver, and it contains right hepatic artery, cystic artery, lymph node of Lunt. These are the contents, and also some lymphatics. So that was about the extrabiliary apparatus and Callott's triangle, which is clinically very important to know. And let's see some questions now. Spiral valve of Hister is seen in, obviously I hope you all know the answer, neck of gallbladder, cystic duct, pancreatic duct, pylorus. So answer is cystic duct. So spiral valve of Hister is formed by the mucosal foldings of the terminal part of the cystic duct, and where it opens into the common hepatic duct to form a common bile duct. And it is not a true valve, but it is permanent, and it narrows down the lumen of the cystic duct at the terminal end. And when the duct is distended, the spaces between the folds get dilated, making the folds becoming more obvious, which is not a boundary of Callott's triangle. Common hepatic duct, cystic duct, right lobe of liver, gallbladder. So which one is not, I hope you all know the answer. Gallbladder is not a boundary of Callott's triangle. So Callott's triangle, triangular area inferiorly by cystic duct, superiorly by inferior surface of right lobe of liver, and medially by common hepatic duct. So these are the boundaries. So this completes the extrabiliary apparatus. I hope you understood this topic. Thank you.